Viewers, today we are in Tharaka Nithi County, where we visit one of us, a retired minister, Reverend Elphas Nyaga. Now, Reverend Nyaga, over and above being a minister of the PCA Church, started by being an educationist for many years. And so we are going to listen to his story about being a teacher and then a tent maker, and then understand the whole concept of the tent making ministry in the Presbyterian Church of East Africa. And also the challenges that pertain to that kind of a relationship with tent making and then teaching profession. So welcome to his home, Mchungaji. Bwana asifiwe sana. Yes.
Karibu sana.
Bwana asifiwe sana. Asante kwa kutukaribisha kwako.
Asante.
Yes. Thank you. Viewers, welcome. We continue the conversation. Chungaji, welcome to the program. Take a minute and introduce yourself to the viewers.
Thank you. My name is Elphas Nyaga, Mtuaribu. I was born at a place called Nyagani in Muzambe location, but later on I relocated to this place called Kine in Atua parish, Mideru ward of Tharaka Nithi County. I was born in 1946. My parents were Christians, therefore I was brought up in a Christian home. I remember I was baptized when I was a small kid in 1948. I went to school at Kajuondothi Primary School. That time it was under the missionaries. Then I also schooled at Itara Primary School. Later on I went to the same Kajuondothi in the intermediate school up to 1961 when I did my Kenya preliminary examination, and then I went to Chogoria Boys. We were the pioneer students at Chogoria Boys in 1962 up to 1965. After that I went to Kangaroo High School for my A-levels. And after that I worked for a short time before I proceeded to the university in 1969.
Okay, that's a very good introduction. You even gave us your academic background. Now, let me go back a step. You were born and raised in a Christian family. So that means that you have always been active in the church. Or was there a time that you were outside the church?
Yes, I was active in the church in my schooling time. But after I left the home, from the supervision of my father was a church elder.
Okay.
After I went away from him, I disappeared into the world for a short time.
Yeah.
But later on, I realized myself and came back to the church.
Okay.
That was around 1969. And then I continued. When I was in the university, I was in the church.
Okay.
And later on, when I went into work, I still continued being a Christian.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that brings us to the whole idea of parents bringing up their children in a Christian environment. Yeah. Though you may go away, you still come back at some point.
You remember yourself and come back to...
yes.
Yeah.
So now, after you graduated from the university, what did you do, or where were you working?
After I graduated from the university in 1973, I worked for a short time with the government in the office of the president. but we were being trained to be teachers.
Okay.
Teachers in the commercial colleges. But I did not like that work, so I left. I worked for a short time with a cooperative union for about 1 year. And later on, I joined the teaching profession. I became a teacher in a high school, where from 1976, I was a teacher up to 1998.
Did you have to go back to college or the university for an education course?
Yeah, I went back to the university to do my postgraduate diploma in education.
Okay.
That is Kenyatta University in 1986 and 7. So at the time, I was there. So I became a professional teacher, and I did my teaching up to the time I retired in 1998.
So where did you work? Just within this county?
Teacher, as a teacher, I worked, first of all, I started at a school called Eco Girls High School. Then I came to Kene, which is near my home. Later on, I went to Mokooni, which is in Chuka. But after some time, I came back to Kene, where I worked until I retired.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So most of my teaching time was at Kene. I saw the school, starting from a very school I left when it was, it had a lot of students.
Okay.
Yeah.
So being a teacher now, let me go back to one area, and I'm sorry because you lost your wife. At what point did you get married?
I got married in 1976. Traditional marriage, but we solemnized the marriage in 1978.
Okay.
We were blessed with a family, 2 girls and 4 boys. But unfortunately, we lost one of them, one of the boys. So my living children are 4.
Okay.
I lost my wife almost 20 years ago. That was in 2004, around October. She got sick, and we lost her. From that time, I've been living here alone. Because the children at that time were in school, but as they finished, mtu anaenda pande yake na mimi naachwa tu. So I live here alone. There's one son who is around.
Okay.
And also he came back last year.
Okay. So now, in your work as an educationist or in the teaching profession, I know at some point you got into the tent making ministry. What prompted you to join the tent making ministry?
Actually, my intention or my call was not the tent making ministry. I did my first interview for the ministry around 1969, but then I did not go through. I wanted to go to full-time ministry at that time. I was still a teacher. But later on, I did another interview, and when I went to the Pastoral Institute at that time, I was advised to go into the tent making ministry because they said they needed people to do that work in the schools where they were doing.
Okay.
So I went through that training. That was around 1982-83. Then I was licensed in 1987 and ordained in 1988. So from that time, I continued doing my teaching work as well as some pastoral work in the schools, and also we were working together with the ministers who are in this parish when I was teaching.
Okay.
Up to the time I retired, then I was absorbed in the full-time ministry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you felt the call, had the call to join the ministry in 1969, and that's the time you went for the first interviews.
Yeah.
But you never went for training until 1982. Did you ever go for interviews again after 1969?
I did not go for any other interview because I felt a bit, because I felt as if I was frustrated by somebody. So actually I almost withdrew. It took the conviction of one elder who came and talked to me for quite a long time for me to apply again. I had almost given up.
Okay.
Because someone somewhere frustrated me.
Was the person in the ministry? Or?
You know what had happened? I had done all the interviews up to the presbytery level. And the presbytery, that time we did not have the regional or the national interviews. If you passed at the presbytery, you went straight away. So somebody was left to write a letter about my success to the head office, but he did not write. So that is where I got frustrated.
That must have been a crack of the presbytery.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I decided to let me stay in teaching rather than struggle with someone who is trying to take me to areas I don't like.
And no one in the presbytery ever thought of following up on that matter?
It was followed, but it was too late.
Okay.
You know, the class had already started. So I felt...
But that could have happened the following year.
That is the time I had withdrawn.
Okay then.
Yeah.
But we thank God that eventually you got into the ministry.
Yeah.
So the original call was into full-time ministry.
Yeah.
But then if you got into tent making, so you only switched to tent making when you are in 1982 when you were
in
finally admitted.
1998 when I retired.
No. I'm talking about the calling.
Yeah.
You received the call and you had the call to join full-time ministry.
Yeah.
But when you went to Pastoral Institute, you were convinced to go for tent making.
Yes. And I think there was a reason. Those people who advised me to do that had a reason. You know, that time, the salaries for ministers was very low. And here I was leaving a job where I was getting much more than the ministers were getting. So somebody, he was a friend, I don't want to mention the name.
Yeah, don't.
he was a friend, told me, rather than leave the whole thing, why don't we train you as a tent maker? You will be still in the school and we shall be using you as a minister. So I was convinced.
So you were comfortable with that?
I was comfortable with that one that time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now, give us the experience of a teacher and also a minister, how you worked in both environments. Because there are so many people who don't understand the whole concept of tent making ministry.
Yeah.
So please tell us what it all entailed.
One thing, a trained minister working in an institution is very useful in that institution. Because when I was a minister and still working in school, I would see many instances, even the teachers, even those who are in administration, coming to seek for advice from me. as a teacher, as a minister. Not as a teacher now, as a minister. The students, if there was any problem with the students, most of them were being in cases referred to me for counseling and advice.
Yeah.
Therefore, in that area, a trained minister in an institution like a school is very useful, especially now with the present day youth. Because a teacher is trained to teach, but a minister is trained in other areas which he can handle. So I used to be, I believe even today when I meet some of the people who went through school at that time, they tell me, you are the one who shaped us. I've got a number of people. Some are elders, some are even doctors, but they tell me, if it was not for you, when you were in school, we were getting lost. So that is one area. On the other area, as a tent-making minister, I used to be used by the minister who was in charge of the parish. Because those days, the parishes were very large. So during the holidays and during the weekends when I was free, I would be available to be deployed by the minister. Yes.
So of late, the church has reinstated the tent-making ministry,
Yes.
Revived the tent-making ministry. But still we have very few who are in the tent making. Would you recommend that the church enhances and trains more for the tent making ministry because of the institutions that we have?
I think that would be very, very, very good. It would be good because the cry today is that our students, our colleges, they do not have someone to give them direction, the moral direction. Professionalism is too high in the institutions. People have no time for what the students are doing.
Yes.
So if we have got ministers trained especially for those institutions, I think it would be very good. Yeah.
That's a very important point to note. That and again, except for the training part of it, the church is not spending any amount of money except for some allowances on you. You are being paid by your employer.
Yes.
So, okay, that's a very important point. So at what point now, or rather, would you identify any challenge that you came across within the time that you were a teacher and a tent maker, any challenges in terms of handling the two?
There are plenty of them. In the school situation, sometimes I would get challenges from the administration. Because most of the schools I taught in were PCS sponsored.
Yes.
So being a minister there, the administration would think or they would have ideas that if we do something wrong, this is the person who will go to report us. So you sometimes feel that you are being intimidated for nothing. You are being, like one time, one principal got me transferred for no reason at all, just because he did not want what he was doing to be exposed. He thought I would expose it. But that is unprofessional.
How about the idea of, okay, you are a teacher and maybe there are some responsibilities that the parish minister who is with you would want you to undertake during the school days? Were you ever available during those days? Yeah,
I was. In most cases, most of the principals I worked under used to tell me, if you have got anything to do with the church, just report and go and do it. But some were rogue. you don't miss some a rotten apple.
One or two. Okay.
But in most cases, I used to have that kind of understanding with my principals. On the other hand, even we ministers, there are ministers who used to come in the parish, and they would think I was a threat to them.
I know.
Which was not genuine, because I was working in the school. The school was paying me. The church was paying me nothing. Even when I was used by the church, I used to use my own means. Those time. It is not like now.
Okay.
Because even in the training, when I went to training, the church did not give me any support. Books, transport, maintenance, I used to cater for myself. So those days were not like today. So I would have some ministers who thought there was a threat, and then they would bring misunderstandings. But then when I got into such situations, I just withdrew. Because I had my work which I was doing. Nobody was asking me in the school. So I would just withdraw. If he needed me, I would go and work. So that is the way I used to do.
Okay. So now, now the tent maker in you, at what point did you, or when did you retire from the teaching profession?
I retired from teaching profession in 1998, in August. And then in 1999, the church absorbed me as a full-time minister.
So there was only a 5-month break between the time you retired as a teacher and the time you went into full-time ministry.
Yeah, and even that time, it is not that I was just floating. I had party time at the Robert Teachers College.
For the 5 months?
For the 5 months.
Okay.
So I was still occupied. And there was no gap in my employment.
So when the church, would you have preferred to do some more time at Roberta Teachers College? Or you were ready for full-time ministry?
I didn't feel like continuing in the class. Because I had done about 20 years. When you do something for 20 years,
it's time to change.
It changes as good as anything else.
Yes. So now, you are transitioning from full-time teaching profession into full-time ministry.
Yeah.
How did you find the transition from this profession to another profession?
One thing, those days, you are in the old Chogoria Presbytery.
Yes.
And I was posted to Zarakan and Deneli. So I think I started it the hard way.
I know.
Because I went to Zaraka. Zaraka is a very good place. But because it is a semi-arid area, you would meet challenges. Sometimes there is no rain, therefore there is no harvest. They don't have any permanent cash crop. Therefore, the work of the minister there is quite hard. So that is where I started. I stayed there for 3 years. And those days we didn't have transport. Not like today when we have got the border or the matatus. I used to walk, sometimes 6 kilometers from the center to a church.
So were you, now you were already retired as a teacher, now you're in full-time ministry. Were you operating from your home or from the manse, the parish?
I was operating from the manse. There's a manse.
Okay.
So from the manse to some of the congregations, it was quite a distance. There's one congregation which was 42 kilometers from the manse.
42 kilometers?
So if I wanted to go there, I would go a day before I had the function. So if this is a Sunday service I want to conduct, I would go on Saturday, sleep somewhere there, and then on Sunday conduct the service, then find my way home.
The same day or maybe the following day?
The same day, sometimes, yeah.
Wow, for 3 good years.
For 3 good years, I was down there.
It must have been such a challenge coming from the teaching profession.
And
right next to your home.
The other thing, it was, the other challenge is, the place is very hot. And there was the malaria attack. So most of the times we would find I'm down with the malaria. It is very hot. So it was quite a challenge, but I believe I did what I was supposed to do. Because the way I found those people is not the way I left them. And even today, I've got friends there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in essence, you received what we call baptism by fire,
By fire.
into full-time ministry.
Yeah.
Wow, that's quite unfortunate. But anyway, you managed and you left a legacy that those people still remember even today.
Because one thing, I found them with a backlog of cells. And by the time I left there, we had cleared, we were clean.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was good. So the challenge was good. And I think you were the person for that job at that time. Now, Mchungaji, tell us, after now, Tharaka and Edeni area, where else did you serve?
After that, I was posted to Tomotomo Presbytery, Ragati Parish.
Ragati. Which year?
That was 2003.
Oh, okay. I had just left Tomotomo.
And as we have said, that was baptism by fire.
Yes.
Then when I was posted to Tomotomo, Ragati Parish, it was baptism by cold. So I came from...
Weather-wise.
Yeah. I came from a very hot place and went into a very cold place.
Yes.
Such that when I went to Ragati, I started getting health problems. And it involved me going to hospital now and then. But not admission, just to be attended and then go home. And I didn't stay at Ragati for a long time. That time, when I realized that I had this challenge of health, I went to the then Deputy General Secretary, Reverend Kinyanjui, tukaongea naye, alafu akaniambia atanitoa huko. So in 2004, I came back to Chogoria Presbytery, Mozambique Parish.
Okay.
Yeah.
So which other parish, after Mozambique, which other parish did you?
Now, that time I came to Mozambique, the parish was in the process of getting subdivided. So I was the one in charge when the parish was subdivided into the present-day Gatua Parish, St. Luke Neema Parish, Itara Parish, and then I went to Itara Parish as the first minister. And Itara Parish, incidentally, is where I was born. That is where I was brought up. So, because of the background and the family, because I was having my family with my families, I felt this is not the place to stay.
Yeah, I know.
So, again, I moved to Imenti South Presbytery, Gatontone Parish. And I stayed in Gatontone Parish until I reached my retirement age in 2006.
Oh, you retired in 2006?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So now, you worked as a teacher, you went into full-time ministry, and eventually retired. You knew very well that at some point you would retire.
Of course.
How did you prepare yourself for retirement?
Oh, all along, even when I was a teacher, I knew one day I would retire. It was possible when I was a teacher to stay with my family or go with my family in the schools where I was, because at the time, one of the conditions for a teacher to be posted by TSC is that the teacher should have a house in the school.
Yeah.
I did not choose to go with my family because I knew in the end we shall go somewhere. I didn't want to go nowhere. And that is why I started preparing my home here. I had even a cattle and coffee and even tea, which would be my falling back resources when I retired.
Okay.
So when I retired, I just came home. The home was there, it was waiting for me. Yeah.
Okay. You might want to speak on this matter. You lost your wife over 20 years ago,
Yes.
and you never remarried. And there are so many people who could be in the same situation with like you, or who would be wondering who just recently lost their spouses, and they are wondering how they are going. They will survive without their spouses. Would you have a word of counsel to them?
One reason, I lost my wife when my children were in the teenage. The youngest was about 12 years old.
Okay.
I looked at them and thought, if I got somebody and she came and they did not go together with them, I would be doing injustice to them. Number two, the pain of losing a spouse is quite serious.
I know.
So I did not think I would like somebody to go through the pain I went through in case she loses me, or go through the same pain if I lose the second spouse. So I sat down and said, let me be satisfied with what I have. I see these children through school, and then after that, life will continue, and it has. Now I'm going into the 80s. I don't see any reason to think about somebody else. Yeah.
Okay. So what do you do in retirement now?
Huh?
What do you do now that you are retired? And,
I have got a few things, like I said. I had started some farming ventures. The coffee is still there. I grew my own food. But I was unable to continue with the cattle. So that one I stopped because one thing, it is taxing.
I know.
It is taxing. So these days I've got my coffee, I've got my small shamba where I grow my beans, my maize, bananas are there. And so I'm comfortable.
So you are a farmer.
I'm a farmer.
Your third profession is farming, yeah? Okay. So now, in your retirement, how do you evaluate your engagement with the Presbyterian parish?
Since I retired, I told you I retired in Imenti South Presbytery. but I felt it was too far. So I wrote to them to allow me to be transferred to Chogoria South Presbytery. And that was done in 2011. And from that time I've been in Chogoria South Presbytery. I have not found any reason to complain.
So
because I believe when we receive ministers in the presbytery, because now I'm here in the presbytery, I should work with them. And all along, from that time, my relationship with the presbytery has been very cordial.
Okay.
Very cordial.
Okay. In which parish are you attached?
I'm attached to the Gatua parish.
So this is where you are, and the minister engages you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you can, do you consider yourself, in terms of the engagements that you have, do you consider yourself still to be in retirement?
Pardon?
Do you consider yourself still to be in retirement, or you're being engaged by the minister?
It is not such an engagement that I would not feel I'm in retirement.
Oh, okay.
Because what happens is that once in a while, he told me, go to this congregation, do this and this one. I'm not available. There's a funeral here, go and attend to it. So it is not that I'm in full, I'm not in his program fully.
Yes.
I'm on my own. And when he wants me to assist, he requests.
Okay.
Not that he orders.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That is very good to hear.
Yeah.
That good working relationship.
And on the other hand, the presbytery uses me. You know, our presbytery is very small. We are 4 parishes. And incidentally, like now, one of the parishes has no minister. We have got an Nenden area. So if there is a function in the Nenden area and the ministers are engaged, the presbytery usually sends me to the Nenden area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
They facilitate and I go and do the work on their behalf.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there are some areas where there has been not very good working relationship between retired ministers and the active ministers, either in the presbytery or the parish where you are attached. Would you take a moment and speak to that, advise us young ministers who are not yet retired?
Yes, it is true what you say. But I don't know where to start because, yes, I've gone through such an area where a minister feels that he doesn't want to work with the retired minister. But then, it is like someone saying, or someone quarreling with his tools. I'm a tool to help you succeed in your ministry. Now, when you ignore me or do things which will annoy me or make me withdraw, then I will not be of help to you. I believe retired ministers are there to help the active ministers to achieve what they are supposed to achieve. But then, I believe it is not the retired minister who will undermine the active minister. Because what has he to gain? What do I have to gain if I undermine the minister in my parish now? What I should do is support him, because the work he is doing will be a benefit to the community I'm living in.
Oh, yeah.
The minister will go and leave a legacy which will help the people of the community I'm living in.
That's very important.
So I don't believe, except if there are some funny people who will think that engaging in undermining the minister who is active will benefit them. I don't believe that.
Okay.
I don't believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very important to note from both ends. There is a responsibility for the active and the retired to work together for God's glory and in the kingdom of God.
Yeah.
Now, as we come to the end of this interview, take a moment and speak to us active ministers in regard to preparation for retirement. What do I need to do? Because I'm heading there.
Now. Let me begin by saying you ministers who are in the active service are there when things are very good. I told you I retired. I started my work as a minister in the church when I retired from teaching. The pay or salaries at that time for a retired minister who has gone through all that education, I started with a salary of 7,000. 7,000 shillings. There was no allowance. That was all. But today, I believe most of the ministers are earning much more than that one. So the ministers should look forward now to use what they are getting to prepare for their future. Because somebody told us when I was in the civil service that the day you get employed, you should be thinking about your retirement. Don't think the 20 years or 30 years you are going to work will last. They will go very fast. So, save, invest for that day when you'll be told, go home, we don't need your services today, go where? So ask yourself, how will I go? You should think if you have a family, where you take your family, probably your family has been living in a manse. A manse which has been built by the congregation, a manse which is equipped by the congregation, a manse where everything is paid by the congregation. What about that day when these things will not be there? Ask yourself. The other thing is about children. Our children are the investment we should be engaged in. So we should bring up our children in a godly manner and also invest in their education. Because there is nothing more disturbing than someone who has retired being told, I've been sent away from school because there is no fees. That day you started dying slowly. So please take care of the education of our children and then you retire into a comfortable life. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Mchungaji. Thank you for your time, your words of counsel, and a very sharp memory of the things that you have experienced both in the teaching profession and in the ministry, and encouraging words to both the retired and the active ministers in terms of a good working relationship for the sake of the community in which you are living. So thank you so much. You even challenged us to prepare for retirement as soon as we start working.
Yeah.
That's not very easy to do because when we start working, we want to enjoy the money that we have. Yeah. So you have challenged us. And thank you so much for your time and for welcoming us to this, your beautiful home. May the Lord bless you and be with you. And continue to sustain you in your retirement as you continue to be of support to those that are in the active ministry.
Thank you.
Yes.
And I also thank you for sparing your time and choosing to come here. You know, you could have chosen to go somewhere else.
Yes.
Like I said, I'm still active in some things. And last year, we were engaged by the presbytery, by a partnership of the partnership of the Chogoria presbyteries to translate the liturgy from Kikuyu to Kemwembe Kimodambe.
Yes.
I was in that team. It was launched in the GA.
Yes.
Just now, I'm in the committee which is writing the encyclopedia. So, like yesterday, I spent the day with the parish here, writing that material, correcting that material. So
you're still engaged.
I'm
You're still active, though retired. Oh, that is very good. So keep up the good job, and may the Lord continue to use you in His own way and for His glory.
Thank you.
So viewers, thank you for following this episode with Reverend Elphas Nyaga. And please remember to subscribe. See you in the next episode of The Regents. May the Lord bless you.